If you love Name Explain, then please consider leaving a super thanks in the comments of this video. It's a great way to make a one-time donation to the channel and help support Name Explain.
2023 is over. We made it, team. Well done. Granted, 2024 is a leap year and the last leap year wasn't all that great, but anyway, a lot of stuff happened in 2023 to say the least. Can all of the year that just ended be summarized in a single word? Well, apparently so, yes. This is because many establishments and dictionaries like to wrap up the year by announcing their very own word of the year. These words are chosen in an attempt to summarize the year that has just been, or chosen just to be silly so websites can make articles about them which get clicks. I mean, that's just my own theory on the matter. We actually did this kind of video last year too, and I enjoyed it so much I thought it would be a fun tradition as part of our New Year week here at Name Explain. So what words got chosen this time around to sum up the year that was 2023? Also, slight spoiler, a lot of sources chose words that relate to one thing in particular, which spiked in popularity and global awareness this year, so apologies if things get a tad repetitive. A great place to start has to be with the Oxford English Dictionary. They're my go-to English language dictionary of choice and are seen by many as the ultimate source of all things words and language in the English realm. In the last few years, they've been playing around with this concept in some cases. In 2020, they didn't choose a single word, and in 2022, they instead allowed the public to vote on the word of the year. This resulted in Goblin Mode being their 2022 word of the year, if you recall. Well, once again in 2023, the OED decided to ask the public to vote, and it resulted in their word of the year for 2023 being Riz. There's a chance you may not be all that familiar with this word. I certainly wasn't. Riz is a noun, though it can be used as a verb too, and it's someone's ability to attract another person through their charm or style or something. You could say that someone has a lot of riz or very little riz. It makes more sense when you realize it probably just comes from a shortening of charisma. As mentioned, this was chosen via public vote, so OED don't do much explaining as to why they think it was a fitting word of the year. They do, however, highlight just how much it spiked in use in 2023, especially in June when actor Tom Holland used it in an interview and it became a meme of sorts. It's easy to turn your nose up at this being the OED's word of the year, but I kind of like it. It reflects how language is ever changing and how words created by the younger generation can go on to be everyday words in the future. Maybe Riz will become more commonplace as the years go on. Their runners up and shortlist of words included prompt, situationship, swifty, beige flag, de-influencing, heat dome, and parasocial. Merriam-Webster is seen as the definitive American English dictionary, and they too have a word of the year each and every year. This year, they chose authentic as their word of the year. This is a term way more popular than Riz, and you've probably heard of it already. But why exactly did this word resonate with the people over at Merriam-Webster so much that it ought to be their word of the year for 2023? It seems because this word relates so much to many things that took place in this year. Lots of things this year have had their authenticity questioned. Like the rise in AI making people confused over if a piece of writing or art is authentic or not, or the ever-growing distrust in social media and users not being able to figure out if someone on social media is being authentic or not. It might seem like an odd choice at first, but it's a pretty clever one, I feel. Other words that stood out to Merriam-Webster include Riz once again, deepfake, coronation, dystopian, EGOT, implode, dead name, and just the letter X for reasons. As mentioned, one of the main reasons Merriam-Webster chose authentic as their word of the year was due to the rise in AI in 2023. AI has been one of the most talked about subjects in recent years. One article I read about it referred to it as a cross-generation discussion, which I thought summed it up perfectly. People young and old are equally curious about it, from older people worrying it could replace their livelihoods to younger people using it to do their homework. Good on them. I 100% would have done that if ChatGPT existed when I was a kid. I even made a whole name explain video with ChatGPT. I mean, it was garbage and I don't ever plan on using it again, but you know, it's been everywhere. I say all this because Collins Dictionary, another popular English dictionary, simply chose AI as their word of the year for 2023. Honestly, I feel just choosing AI is a bit lazy. Be a tad more creative with it, guys. Some of the shortlist words were way more interesting, I personally feel. Words like baseball, nepo baby, ultra processed, canon event, and greedflation are way more unique and open up a better conversation than just going with AI. Cambridge and dictionary.com both followed the same AI-centric route. In fact, they both chose the exact same word. that being hallucinate. Both these publications chose hallucinate as their word of the year due to the weird hallucinogenic writing AI tools can generate at times. The strange way it can seem pretty human but not entirely human. I'm guessing AI has played a role in so many words of the year this year because AI itself is now so linked with words and languages. So far, these have only really been words of the year from the USA and UK, but there is another English-speaking nation that partakes in this tradition, that being Australia. There's a couple Australian sources that provide a word of the year to us, one of those being the Australian National Dictionary Centre. Their name alone gives you a good idea as to what these guys are all about. Their word of the year for 2023 was Matilda. This has nothing to do with the young girl with special powers or the house robot from Robot Wars. This word was chosen because the Matildas is the nickname for their nation's women's football team. Australia co-hosted the Football World Cup this year, along with New Zealand, and their team did way better than anyone expected, reaching the semi-finals before being knocked out by yours truly. During this time, Australia reportedly had something of Matilda mania, with the name being everywhere in the nation. It seems like a fitting Australian word of the year, that's for sure. We aren't entirely sure as to how they became known as the Matildas, but the popular belief is that it comes from the song Waltzing Matildas. Another popular source for Australia's word of the year is the Macquarie Dictionary. They are seen as the authority on Australian English, and what I love about them is that they tend to be a little more tongue-in-cheek when it comes to their word of the year. In example, for 2023, Cozzy Lives was selected as their word of the year. This is a slang term for the cost of living crisis, which affected so much of the world in 2023 and continues to do so. It's a fun corruption of the words, and despite being coined here in the UK, it seems to have really taken hold down under. As the Macquarie Dictionary Committee said themselves about the term, what could be a more Australian approach to a major social and economic problem than to treat it with a bit of humour and informality? The concept of a word of the year, however, goes beyond English. Many other countries and languages highlight a word to summarize the year for themselves too. Take the German establishment of Wort des Jahres, which translates to word of the year. The German word of the year for 2023 is Krisenmodus. You don't have to be fluent in German to realize that this translates into crisis mode. This was chosen as the German word of the year because of the ongoing series of crises the world and Germany in particular have been faced with over the last few years, from the pandemic to various wars to the skyrocketing prices of pretty much everything. It's really not the funnest time in the world right now, to say the least. Germany chose to forego focusing on AI when it came to their word of the year, and chose a word that related more to real world events. Denmark, however, not so much. The Danish Language Council announced that their word of the year for 2023 is simply ChatGPT, the name of the popular AI text generator. Like, it's not even a Danish word or anything. I don't know, I'm pretty unimpressed with this one myself. Spanish wasn't too much more creative either, as the Spanish word of the year for 2023 was Inteligencia Artificial, which, if you couldn't guess, means artificial intelligence in Spanish. Not so much a word, but a symbol. Japan holds its annual Kanji of the Year tradition. This year it went to this symbol, which means tax. This relates to the higher taxes occurring in Japan as the world falls somewhat into economical hot waters. And I really have to mention the World Emoji Awards. Emoji are pretty much words at this point. In fact, they are in some ways way more powerful than words. This year, the melting face was voted as the most 2023 emoji, which feels incredibly fitting for a whole myriad of reasons. In all honesty, it is one of the best emojis, so it's great to see it finally getting the recognition it deserves. Though the words of the year I found most interesting come from the Association Press. They have picked a selection of nations and chosen words of the year for them, even if they don't choose a word of the year for themselves. For the US, they chose spy balloon due to events that involve them. For Haiti, they chose bois calais, which has become a rallying phrase against the nation's violent gangs. And for Australia, they chose password child, which is used to refer to the kid you love the most and use their name as a password. Love that one. Also, The Economist have a word of the year too, but they hide their articles behind a paywall, so screw them. If anyone subscribes to them, please let me know down in the comments. What's really interesting is that many of these words of the year have been around for quite some time, but only really rose to prominence this year. Like, we've been talking about artificial intelligence for decades, but it's only now it's really in the zeitgeist. Yet, as well as old words finally getting their time in the limelight, a bunch of new words emerged in 2023 too. What are these words? Well, those will be covered next time in our annual Words That Entered the Dictionary video. For now, however, why not tell me what single word you would use to sum up the year that was 2023?
Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/Name Explain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm Name Explain YT, and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you all so much.